Welcome to episode
2.
1 of the Ikhlas podcast, a place where I try to cultivate content that allows us to balance deen and dunya through sincere intentions and meaningful moments in our lives. Assalamu'alaikum. Welcome back, you guys. It is episode 2 of the Ikhlas podcast. And as you saw in the title, it's about you and Allah. So let's get into it. So especially after winter break, um I sort of thought about this concept of just for the benefit of the listeners, just you and Allah. Like if you really think about it, like at the end of your life, the only relationship that's really gonna matter is the one that you have with Allah. Like you'll have friends, you might have a partner later, you might have kids, there's all these different relations, co-workers, colleagues, all of these different relationships that you form in your life. But the most meaningful one is the one you have with your creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Um, and so I think that to many that sounds lonely to think of just you and Allah. But I think that another way of thinking of it is that honestly, it's an honor to be serving Him. It's an honor to be guided to be able to worship a Lord that's so merciful. And that's why I absolutely love the phrase Hasbunallah. Allah is enough for me. And a lot of people use that in the context of getting through hardships. Like, Allah is enough for me to get through this hardship that I'm in, to get me through this trial, this test. But I want to flip the mindset on that for a bit. It's not just that Allah is enough for me to get me through this trial, to get me through this hardship. It's that my relationship with Allah is enough for me right now. And this is more so talking to the people who are single, but I think that, at least for me, that's very comforting because it's just it makes it enough when you believe that it's enough, you know? And that's not to say that isn't enough, but just when you take the time to just focus on worshiping Allah, focus on improving yourself, focus on your relationship not only with Allah but also with yourself, it really is refreshing and I think gives you a new perspective on life. Um, and on that topic of bettering yourself, I think it's important to note that you're bettering yourself for the sake of Allah, not for the sake of someone else, not for the sake of a potential person, but for the sake of Allah and for the sake of yourself as well, for your future in this world. Um, and to really wholeheartedly believe in that and mean that you really want the best for yourself. And I think it's really important also to realize that while you're working on these things, while you're trying to better yourself, your time will come. And what I mean by that is whatever big thing that you're waiting for to happen in your life, you don't have to rush it. Take your time. Take it a bit slow. It'll come. And I don't mean your time will come as in death, but I mean your time will come as in whatever you want to happen will come at the right time. Not at your time, but at Allah's time. Whatever time that He decrees. And around the same topic of learning to enjoy your own company, I think that's something that a lot of Gen Z struggles with nowadays, is especially with social media, I think it's so easy to sort of just lock yourself in a room and just binge watch, whether it's YouTube, Instagram. I don't know if I should mention TikTok right now, given the ban in the US, but um, social media in general, just like it's so easy to be alone, but to totally ignore your own presence. And I think that's something that really should be worked on to improve your relationship with yourself because, like, there's so many thoughts, worries, concerns that you might have about the future. And I think it's so important to tap into yourself and see how you feel about those things. Like, genuinely try to comfort yourself about those future scenarios that you're thinking about. And just, I think positive self talk can really be a way to get us through those tough times. And sort of along with that, I sort of want to hop in and go on a bit of a tangent and talk about productivity. Um, because you see, when I think about it's just you and Allah, I like to think of that as Allah and me or Allah and you, you're a team. Like, and it also goes along with that idea of like do your best and leave the rest. It's like you do the absolute best that you can and make dua and then everything will be okay. Like genuinely everything will be okay, inshallah. And so like sort of going on a tangent of productivity, I think when it comes to a relationship with yourself, it's so important to not be so hard on yourself. And I know that's definitely easier said than done, but I think the idea of like I'm not saying never push yourself or never like do your hardest work because of course that's important in growth and in really improving yourself. It's you have to push yourself, but I think there's a limit that you have to put to it. I think when you realize that you're burnt out, it's important to take that time when you can, of course, to try and get out of that. Um, and then when you're not burnt out, trying to find the rhythm of how do I push myself in a healthy way so that I can avoid burnout in the future. Um, and so I think that's a concept that I really want to just ingrain in you is the idea of you and Allah being a team. Like it's not just you working really hard or you and whoever else, a mentor, a teacher, a professor, a teammate, whatever, like working hard. It's also Allah there and Allah is there supporting you. And I think it's so important to have a good mindset about Allah because I know that like there are definitely people who grow up learning to fear Allah and I think there has to be a balance because and I think many of the listeners here know that Allah's mercy like overpowers his wrath. And so just knowing that, for example, Surah Ar-Rahman, there's a whole surah on Allah's mercy, I think it shows that it's really important for us to tap into that mercy that Allah has, but also not to forget that, of course, He's like His punishment is also severe. Um, my problem is that I feel a podcast episode should be 20 minutes max, or min, to qualify as a podcast episode. And my problem is I haven't posted in a while. I can't talk for 20 minutes straight because what am I going to talk about for 20 minutes straight? Um, even this, I attempted multiple times, like twice, but multiple times to record. I could barely even reach 10 minutes. Do you see how I had to go on other tangents to do this? But I think this was a very important topic to talk about. Um, High key, those who are subscribed, if you have ideas about what I should talk about, because I think most of you subscribed high key aren't Muslim, but um, if you have ideas, put them in the comments. I need ideas. I'm struggling to come up with ideas of what to talk about for this podcast. So, if you have them, I'd be more than happy to look at them and then give them the Sharifa approval or not. Um, but that's sort of all I have for today. Thank you guys for listening. Um, Assalamu'alaikum.